Welcome back to Smile and Scars, where we bring you the most jaw-dropping real-life action stories featuring legends you thought you knew. Today's story is about a shocking encounter that went down when a rogue cop tried to cross the line, and learned exactly why you never mess with Steven Seagal. Make sure you sit tight, because this story will keep you on the edge of your seat. It was a quiet evening in the suburbs. The sun had just begun to dip below the horizon, casting long shadows across the neatly kept lawns of Steven Seagal's neighborhood. Steven had just returned from his daily Aikido practice, feeling relaxed and calm. His property was always peaceful, but tonight something felt off. He could sense a tension in the air, a disturbance that immediately put his instincts on high alert. Steven had faced countless adversaries in his life, both on screen and off, and he always trusted that gut feeling that told him when danger was near. Meanwhile, across town, Officer Jackson, a cop known more for his temper than his professionalism, was getting increasingly frustrated. He had been reprimanded for his behavior on several occasions, but he wasn't about to let that stop him. Jackson had heard rumors of Steven Seagal living in the neighborhood, a martial arts legend, someone who could throw him down without even trying, and in his arrogance, he saw it as an opportunity to prove himself. Tonight, he would teach Seagal a lesson. Little did he know that he was about to walk into a storm far stronger than anything he had ever encountered. The officer drove slowly through the residential streets, eyes scanning for the familiar property. He parked his car just outside the main gate, taking a deep breath as he gripped his baton tightly. Every step toward Seagal's house was fueled by a dangerous mix of arrogance and ignorance. Jackson had faced plenty of tough situations, but Steven Seagal was not just tough. He was a master, trained in the art of combat that few could match. Jackson didn't care. He thought he could intimidate Seagal, maybe even come out victorious. He was gravely mistaken. Jackson scaled the low wall surrounding the property with surprising ease, his adrenaline pumping. The garden was dimly lit, shadows stretching eerily over the stone pathway leading to the house. He could see through the windows, the faint glow of indoor lights illuminating Steven Seagal's silhouette as he moved calmly through his home. Jackson's plan was simple: catch Seagal off guard, assert dominance, and leave with his pride intact. But Steven's calm demeanor was a warning he couldn't yet read. Inside the house, Seagal had just finished preparing a light dinner and was enjoying a moment of peace. He always believed that discipline and focus extended beyond martial arts. It was a way of life. A sudden noise from outside caught his attention. At first, it was subtle, a crunch of gravel, the faintest whisper of movement. Then, a shadow moved against the wall. Seagal's senses immediately sharpened. He had dealt with intruders before, but this felt different. This felt intentional. Someone was looking for trouble, and they were about to find more than they bargained for. Jackson, convinced that he had the element of surprise, crept closer to the main door. Every instinct in Seagal's body told him something was wrong. He didn't rush. He didn't panic. Instead, he moved silently, positioning himself where he could observe without being seen. Years of training had taught him patience and precision, and right now, patience would be his greatest weapon. The rogue officer reached for the doorknob, a smug look on his face, thinking he had already won. He pushed the door open and stepped inside, the dim light revealing his presence. That was all Seagal needed. In a fluid motion, Steven emerged from the shadows, his eyes locked on Jackson. There was no fear in his stance, only the calm confidence of a master who knew exactly what would happen next. "Evening, officer," Seagal said quietly, his voice steady yet carrying an unspoken warning. Jackson froze for a split second, underestimating Seagal's presence. That split second was enough. Seagal moved, a blur of motion, closing the distance between them before Jackson could react. In training, Steven had always emphasized control and precision over brute force. Each movement was calculated, each strike purposeful. Jackson swung his baton instinctively, hoping to catch Seagal off guard, but Seagal was ready. With a swift, controlled maneuver, he deflected the baton, sending it clattering to the floor. Jackson's surprise turned into fear as Seagal's calm expression never wavered. In the next few seconds, Seagal demonstrated why he was considered one of the most dangerous martial artists alive. Each movement disarmed, restrained, and neutralized Jackson without causing unnecessary harm. The officer had stepped into a fight he could not win, and every second that passed reinforced that fact. As the confrontation continued, neighbors began to notice the commotion. Shouts, bangs, and the sounds of struggle echoed through the quiet street. Yet inside, Seagal remained focused, using his knowledge of human anatomy and martial arts to control the situation. Jackson struggled, his arrogance now replaced by sheer terror. He realized too late that he had underestimated the man he had come to intimidate. Minutes passed, though it felt like an eternity to the officer. Seagal's technique was flawless. Every attempt to resist was met with a counter, every swing was redirected. Jackson's confidence crumbled with each movement, until finally he was subdued, pinned carefully to the floor. Seagal looked down at him, calm but commanding. "This is a lesson," Seagal said evenly, his tone carrying the weight of experience. "Respect boundaries, respect people, and never underestimate someone because of what you think you know." Jackson could only nod, the adrenaline leaving him, replaced by a deep understanding of his mistake. With the situation under control, Seagal ensured that Jackson would face the consequences of his actions properly. He wasn't a man who sought revenge, but he demanded accountability. The officer's arrogance had led him here, and now he had to answer for it. Seagal's family, who had watched from a safe distance, understood the gravity of the moment. They knew that their home had been defended by someone who would not tolerate injustice. By the time the authorities arrived to handle the situation, Jackson was incapacitated, no longer a threat. Seagal's calm demeanor and mastery of control left a lasting impression on everyone involved. Witnesses would recount this event for years, noting the precision, patience, and unparalleled skill that had turned a dangerous intrusion into a lesson in respect and humility. As the night drew on, Steven Seagal returned to his home, his family safe, and his property secure. He had once again demonstrated that true strength lies not in aggression, but in control, discipline, and experience. The rogue officer would think twice before underestimating anyone again, and the story of that night would echo as a reminder that legends are not just made on screen. They are proven in moments of real-life confrontation. The night had grown darker, the quiet suburb now filled with the echoes of what had just transpired. Officer Jackson, humbled and subdued, was finally being taken into custody by the responding authorities. He could hardly comprehend how quickly everything had turned against him. One moment, he had entered Steven Seagal's home with arrogance and a false sense of power. The next, he was pinned and completely at the mercy of a man whose skill and presence were unmatched. Jackson's pride had been shattered, leaving him with a lesson he would never forget. Seagal's family gathered around him, visibly shaken but safe. His wife and children had witnessed the danger firsthand, but they also saw the calm, controlled power of a man who could defend those he loved without succumbing to reckless violence. Steven reassured them with a quiet nod and a simple smile. "It's over. Everyone is safe." His voice carried the weight of someone who had lived through countless battles, on screen and in real life, yet remained grounded in discipline. The authorities questioned Steven, the neighbors, and even Jackson, trying to piece together the sequence of events. Yet no one could deny the reality. Steven Seagal had faced down a trained law enforcement officer and neutralized a threat without unnecessary injury. It was a testament to his mastery of martial arts and his unwavering control over even the most dangerous situations. Stories of his calm precision began to circulate immediately, creating an aura of respect and awe around the man who had protected his home. After the initial chaos settled, Steven stepped outside to ensure everything around his property was secure. The cool night air brushed against his face, but his focus never wavered. He moved deliberately, checking gates, doors, and surrounding areas. Every movement was precise, a reflection of his years of experience in martial arts. Even in the calm after the storm, Seagal's presence radiated authority. Any observer would understand instinctively that this was a man not to be trifled with. Meanwhile, Jackson sat quietly in the patrol car, reflecting on his mistakes. He had entered that home with ego and a desire to assert dominance. He had underestimated a man who had spent decades honing his skills, mastering not only physical combat, but also the mental discipline that separates a true master from the rest. Jackson now realized that arrogance and power do not guarantee control. Respect and awareness do. As the night wore on, Steven returned to his family, making sure they felt safe and reassured. He spoke to his children about vigilance, respect, and understanding one's own limits. Strength is not just about what you can do to others, he explained. It's about what you can do to protect and control situations responsibly. His words were calm but carried an undeniable authority, leaving an impression on his family that would last a lifetime. Jackson was eventually released into the hands of proper legal authorities, but the experience had left a permanent mark on him. He had been humbled by a man who embodied true mastery, a lesson that could not be erased by rank, badges, or past experience. Seagal's demonstration of power, control, and discipline became an example within the community, reminding everyone that real strength lies in restraint as much as in ability. As dawn approached, Steven prepared for the day ahead, yet his mind remained clear and focused. The events of the night had reinforced his belief in vigilance and preparation. Every action, every choice, had consequences, and those who underestimated others paid the price. Seagal's reputation as a martial arts legend was now further solidified, not by rumors or films, but by real-life events that showcased his unmatched ability to defend and neutralize threats. For the neighbors, the story would be retold countless times. They spoke of the calm yet unstoppable presence of a man who, despite being home alone, could handle an armed and arrogant law enforcement officer with absolute precision. Some marveled at the sheer skill, while others admired the restraint that Seagal had shown. No one questioned the truth. Steven Seagal was a force to be reckoned with, a protector who combined intelligence, training, and discipline into a formidable defense. By mid-morning, life in the neighborhood began returning to normal, yet the aura of the previous night lingered. Steven went about his routine with the same calm demeanor he had always maintained, knowing that real threats often come without warning. His actions had demonstrated more than skill. They had shown character, the ability to act decisively under pressure, and the courage to protect loved ones at any cost. Those who had witnessed or heard of the events knew one undeniable fact. Steven Seagal was not just a martial artist. He was a guardian whose presence demanded respect. Later that day, Seagal took a moment to reflect privately. The incident had been a reminder of the unpredictable nature of the world. Even a man of peace must be prepared for conflict. His family, his property, and his community were all his responsibility, and tonight he had demonstrated that responsibility in its fullest form. The rogue officer's arrogance had collided with experience, skill, and restraint, and the lesson had been delivered without unnecessary violence but with complete clarity. As the sun rose higher, Steven's family resumed their activities, reassured and confident. They knew that with him around, they were safe from threats that ordinary people could not handle, and Steven, ever the master of both mind and body, continued his day with the same measured calm that had carried him through countless challenges before. One fact remained indisputable. Those who underestimated him, whether by ignorance or arrogance, would always regret it. And in this case, the lesson had been unforgettable. The rogue officer's tale would serve as a warning to others, a story that echoed beyond the immediate neighborhood. Respect, discipline, and the recognition of true mastery were not just theoretical. They were enforceable by those who had earned the right to defend and protect. Steven Seagal had reminded the world, once again, that a master's calm and discipline could neutralize arrogance and aggression in ways that few could anticipate. His reputation as both protector and martial artist was now reinforced in a way that history would remember. By evening, the neighborhood was calm, the air quiet and still. Steven Seagal's home had been tested, his skills demonstrated, and his family protected. The lesson had been clear to anyone paying attention. Never underestimate mastery, never challenge experience, and never bring arrogance into the path of a true martial arts legend. Steven had once again shown that courage, skill, and discipline were a combination no one should ever take lightly.